Welcome to the Boston Bros Political Show. I'm Jim Campanini, co-host of the show, and with me is Peter Lucas, the longtime columnist for the Boston Herald. Good morning, Peter. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm cold, but I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm coming to you this morning from sunny Sarasota, Florida. It's a little warm this morning. I'm out by the pool. It's about 68 degrees. It's going to go up to 85. The sun is out. Blue skies, a little patchy fog. I'll be playing a little golf, Peter.
Yeah,
You're not gonna. Are you playing a snow shovel today or what?
let me tell you something. You're in the land of high temperature and low taxes, and I'm in the land of high taxes and low temperature. Believe me.
The so far things have been going very very well, and the only thing is the traffic congestion. I think that's what everybody battles down here in Florida because it's such a destination state. Okay, and for U.S. tourists and people who want to get out of the cold like me. So, because Governor Ron DeSantis is doing a pretty good job monitoring the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of Florida, and I think that's pretty damn good. So let's begin. This is a big week, especially in Massachusetts in Necco wafers. This is Valentine's week, Peter. So. There's been a lot of talk going on what that's going to mean for Massachusetts, especially for candy makers. But let's talk about Valentine's. Do you have any Valentines to give out to anyone this
Well,
week?
I have Valentines to give out. Don't forget, the Governor Maura Healey wants to raise the tax on candy. She wants to put the sales tax on it, which is 6.2.5%, which leads me to show that soon we'll be taxing Reese candy. And I love Reese candy. And then Snickers. Snickers are going to go up 6%. And after that, Hershey is going to go up.
Oh,
And
save that Hershey bar for when I get back.
I'll save it for you. But then to top it all off, this is Valentine's Day, and Valentine's Day candy is going to be taxed if Maura Healey's plan goes through. Nothing
Well,
is.
this is what I don't understand with the candy tax. Okay, she's saying that she just wants to make it consistent with the bakery industry. I guess they have to pay a sugar tax, which I didn't even know that. And but this tax is only it's going to be pennies. It's going to raise $25 million. I mean, and why? There's a saying, leave bad enough alone, and she's just hammering these candy makers who so far no one said anything about them.
Well,
They're trying to coexist, just move on, and kids and stuff like that. And this tax is going to be 6.25%. What if there was a candy maker who wanted to expand into Massachusetts or expand their operations? I just don't understand it. You got a $62 billion budget, and you need a candy tax?
well, my proposal is we should form a children's crusade. Get all the children in the fifth and sixth grades and bus them to the State House like any other lobby group. And they can protest outside the governor's office, demand a meeting with the governor, and insist on doing away with this proposed tax. It's unfair. No taxation without representation.
Well, if kids could vote, huh? If kids could vote, what would happen? You think the Dems would be doing this?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But at any rate,
Well,
while we're on the subject of the governor, I know you're in Florida, but you must have come across the news that she's going to run for reelection to a second term.
a helicopter just went overhead. I don't know if you could hear it. But here's the other thing. Okay, several weeks ago, I think on our first show, I predicted that Governor Healy would not seek reelection. I was wrong. I admit it. Still a long way to go. I mean, he could pull out any time and stuff. Um, I mean, she has made some achievements, but she's been in the news more lately for backtracking, lack of transparency, which she campaigned for, especially over the illegal immigration, the who these people are, the assaults and crimes being committed. But you know, now you come to this taxation, candy tax being one of them. But I read while I was down here that she also wants to increase the municipal taxes, local taxes on meals and hotels. I mean, I would think that a large number of the hotels in communities can't even contribute because they become shelters. Uh,
You mean
and
Healy Hotel?
restaurants are struggling. They've never gotten back on their feet from COVID, and yet she wants to put an extra a 0.5% or 1% on the meals tax and the hotel tax, and that's only going to raise about 48 million dollars. What is going on in Massachusetts?
Well, that's what Democrats do. But at any event, her record as governor may be spotty. But, when you look at it, she has no opposition. There's no Democrat who's going to challenge her in the primary. So she has a free ride there. And of the several Republicans who are making noises about running, nobody knows who they are. And we can list them here, but that wouldn't make much of a difference. My point is she'd be in good shape for re-election. And consider this. She's been in 4 years, another 4-year term. I don't think she'd finish out the second term. It's a good possibility. She could step aside midterm and allow Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll to become acting governor. We've had that precedent in the past. In 1997, as you know, Governor Bill Weld resigned to become ambassador to Mexico, although he didn't get the job, and Paul Cellucci became acting governor. And then 2001, Cellucci resigned to become ambassador to Canada, and Jane Swift became acting governor. So we have precedent for it, and it wouldn't surprise me that she would go on to other things.
Yeah. Well, and the last thing about that three-pronged tax approach, then I read this week that she's also looking to give the option to local municipalities to raise the excise taxes, the dreaded excise tax on automobiles and trucks and stuff. I mean, that next to the death tax has to be one of the most hated taxes in Massachusetts. And she wants to give them because she says they're cash starved and everybody's complaining and I just don't understand it. And the opponents for this tax say, this is ridiculous because the excise tax on a car in Lowell would be much different than a car tax in Lincoln. So. I mean, it's just crazy. Is a car worth more in Lincoln than it is in Lowell, and vice versa, and stuff? I mean, there's a lot but even to come up with these ideas,
Let me tell you,
it's
Jim, you're complaining about taxes now. You just wait a while, and I'll tell you why. If Donald Trump continues making these cuts in federal grants, programs, and budgets, Massachusetts is going to be hit hard. And in order to keep services continuing the way they are now, we're going to have to raise taxes severely because
well,
there's no other way to make up the money that the state is going to lose when Donald Trump completes his tax cut program and get my point.
well, there were certain experts and opinion writers writing during COVID when we were flooded with all this pandemic money and aid that someday the pandemic was going to go away and this money was going to dry up, but we just spent it with two fists, and the municipalities had budget surpluses, but they had to use that money by a certain time, and then a lot of them took that money and held it right till the end because they really didn't have anything to spend depended on. Okay, talk about communities in need. Now they use that money. They hired more people, got more programs. The state did the same, and now we're in this boat that some wise people like yourself predicted would happen. Okay, they didn't put some put away for a rainy day fund, but like I said, they had to use that money. And here we are in this situation, the best and the brightest Massachusetts. Everybody's got their hand out. School, they're saying about the education funding. Towns, school departments are going bankrupt and everything. I mean, it is just crazy. We never learn, Peter.
Well, we're going to have to tighten our belts even more because the Trump administration, Donald Trump and Elon Musk, are on a rampage to cut federal funding, especially the waste, fraud, and abuse in various programs. And Massachusetts is going to be hit hard. The dilemma is the Democratic establishment in Massachusetts, the governor, our two U.S. senators, and all our congresspeople continue to attack Trump. And Trump is the guy who controls the spigot. And he has people around him who have long memories. And they don't forget these things. As a matter of fact, as we stand now, Massachusetts political establishment has no one with any ability to make an accommodation with Donald Trump. They're so insistent on attacking him, resisting him, and this is going to have a negative impact on the state.
Well, I don't mind politicians using constructive criticism to talk about Trump's policies or any president's policies. Of course, we didn't hear much about it during the Biden administration from our all Democratic congressional delegation. But I tell you, some of these people in our delegation, they are just so out of touch. And Senator Elizabeth Warren, I mean, she's making a national joke of herself. I mean, I think she's going to be one of the most reviled senators across the country. Just seeing her and her anger. Isn't that what they blamed the Republicans for when they criticized Joe Biden, being angry and full of hate, even though it wasn't true. But her, I mean, her facial expressions, the way she conducts herself. I mean, she's no one to look up to for young kids and stuff. I mean, if you saw her and didn't know who she was until a teenager, what do you think of this person's performance? I think they'd be repulsed.
Well, she's outdoing Maxine Waters.
Oh man, there's another one.
In fact, Elizabeth Warren has become the Maxine Waters of Massachusetts politics.
Yes, yeah, with Schumer and she doesn't. It's too bad. She doesn't make much sense. But getting back to cost efficiency, I mean, maybe Massachusetts, like I think there's almost 17 other states in the country have adopted Doge-like panels to look into government waste and create efficiency. Maybe Massachusetts needs a Doge panel. What do you think?
Massachusetts has not had a governor that will make any serious cuts in its budget or the way it does business until the last one was Governor Ed King. And he only served one term. But he was on top of the budget, made serious cuts, tried to balance the budget in a fair way, and he was defeated by Mike Dukakis. So there you go.
Well, it seems to me like we always cry in Massachusetts for more government efficiency. Every candidate that runs on they run on a platform, but they always have in their agenda. If I'm elected, I am going to return more dollars to you, the citizen, through cutting. I'll get to the waste, but yet when the time comes to get to the waste, they're criticizing Donald Trump for doing what a majority of Americans have been saying for years, whether you're Democrat or Republican, the government is just bloated with employees. We don't know we don't know where the money's going, and now they're criticizing Elon Musk and his volunteer people who are looking into this across the board.
The Democratic Party right now is in a spiral, and it's going down, down, down. And you talk about them losing touch. Just last week, when President Trump signed the bill, signed the executive order banning men and women's sports, just prior to that, the entire Massachusetts delegation to the House voted against banning men from women's sports. In other words, they were for men in women's sports. Now, that goes against all aspects of any common sense you might have. And
Well, what really gets me is you come up with an idea, and it's a conversation point. It's a start, and I'm just surprised no one in the state house or in the House of Representatives, the state Senate, is saying, "Gee, maybe this is something worth looking at. We need money. Maybe we should start looking to downsize some government, some programs." But instead, you've got the Attorney General of the state, Andrea Campbell, just finding more and more ways to sue President Trump, just like her predecessor, who was Maura Healey, who went on to become governor. I think Governor Healey filed almost 100 lawsuits against Donald Trump when he was president during his first term. You'd think we'd learn, but saying, "Hey, we got enough problems in the state. Why do we have to even be on the lookout to find more reasons to sue President Trump on things that haven't even happened yet?"
Andrea Campbell sued Trump on the first day. The first day he was sworn into office, she filed suit or joined the suit into birthright citizenship. Here's an angle. Like in California, she's trying to Trump-proof Massachusetts. She's going to ask the legislature for an additional increase in her budget to hire lawyers and investigators to go after Trump. Now,
Well,
I don't know if the governor will go along with this. I don't know if the legislature will go along with it. But it seems to me Massachusetts may have a few other problems that the state's chief law enforcement officer should be addressed, like, for instance, illegal immigrant crime or crime in general. But like Maura Healey before her, that is not a topic that takes much consideration.
Well, I'll tell you, it should be because the last 2 days I've read about troubles at the Massachusetts General Brigham's. Is that at the hospital?
Right.
Yeah, they're facing a $250 million deficit over the next 2 years, and they're looking to cut thousands of employees to get that under control. It's happening in big business, corporations, nonprofits, and maybe the state, it would be wise for the state to examine its own funding, and maybe the attorney general can help out and see how some of that money was used, and where it was possibly abused, and where's it going. This is crucial to the health, safety, and welfare of Massachusetts residents. But it doesn't seem like it's rising on anybody's anybody's agenda.
You know, this would be a natural for state auditor Diane 𝐂𝐚𝐬𝐿. I mean, she is a state's auditor. She does audit the state's books. But as far as waste, fraud, and abuse goes, I'm sure there's room for more investigations coming from her office. And we also have the Inspector General's office in this state. But I haven't heard from him since, I don't know, Noah's flood.
Well, I'm just going to throw this out there. At some point that you reach the breaking point, and for everything, and And I think it was kind of shocking and surprising that Jonathan Kraft decided to take on a popular mayor, Michelle Wu in Boston, and I mean he stepped out. He's got a different perspective. You think there might be some at some point that someone says, "Hey, we've had enough of this, and I'm going to challenge Governor Healey for governor." I mean, do you reach a breaking point in Massachusetts or no? It's just going to come from the Republican side. Um,
Well, that's why the incumbents are so so set in their ways. There's no competition. The Republican Party is still a shambles in Massachusetts, and the only way it could be revived is if Donald Trump and the Republican Party take an interest in Massachusetts.
mm,
But you have to go far and wide to find a Republican candidate in this state who is pro-Trump. And
yeah,
you recall when Charlie Baker was governor and Trump was president or running for president, and Charlie Baker was a big critic of the governor, of the
yeah,
president. And from then on, Republican support from politicians, Republican politicians, has been non-existent.
yeah.
So
Well,
how do you form a party if you're not even supporting the president of the United States?
that's a good
You know?
question. Very, very good. Well, it's interesting that yesterday a new CBS poll came out showing that Donald Trump's approval rating is 53%, highest it's ever been in his first administration and now in his second. So I guess the first 100 days are going pretty well. Any thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are the Democrats are using an old playbook that Trump tore up when he won the last election. And they have no plan, they have no program outside of trying to storm buildings in Washington for these television appearances. They have nothing going for them. They resist
Yeah.
everything, but they don't
Right.
offer anything.
Yeah, there's a little plane circling overhead. Uh,
That's
Gotta tell
probably
that
that's
pilot
probably
to
Trump.
change
That's
course.
probably Trump going to Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah. So, uh, one other thing that I also saw that our former governor Charlie Baker, now who's head of the NCAA, he's brought the that organization in line with Trump's thinking on protecting women and girls in sporting events. Looks like Baker is moving, or he has moved, to basically say that transgender athletes cannot play in women's sports to protect women, and that's a major move, I think, for a
It is a
major
major move.
organization because I saw the MIAA is still not going to conform with federal guidelines, and I don't know if there's any funding that's going to be involved in there, but I would certainly think that there is an investigation. I thought I also read that there might be or there is a federal investigation of that organization.
Well, I don't know if there's going to be an investigation, but I assume that Trump is going to withhold funds from any organization that does not follow his guidelines of banning biological men in women's sports. And just as they're going to withhold funds from cities like Boston, who are sanctuary cities.
Mm,
The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, made it clear that they're going to withhold funds from sanctuary cities. Just up the road in New Hampshire, the New Hampshire Senate last week approved legislation banning cities and towns in New Hampshire from becoming sanctuary cities, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if you saw that, but
mm,
that means that, any immigrant seeking sanctuary in New Hampshire would just bypass and come into Massachusetts, where we have several, including Boston.
Well, I mean, how long can the mass congressional delegation hold out? I mean, against these common sense issues like transgender athletes and women's sports. I mean, they're so far on the opposite side of what the American people want. I mean, unless Massachusetts is a rogue state on this, can you believe that? I mean, I just don't think so. I just think, for years, Massachusetts, the culture has been you better not go against the woke because you lose business, you might lose your job, you'll be ostracized by your friends and neighbors. And I think we're still have that fear because that's the way Massachusetts does business. You either all got to go along to get along, and it's really embedded in the culture, the philosophy of the Massachusetts residents. And yet, when you talk to people, even some of my neighbors, I mean, they have common sense. They talk to you about it in private and tell you how they feel, but they won't do it publicly. And I think that's why the Massachusetts delegation just seemingly keeps going the way it's going because there's no retribution, no consequences for any of this.
Well, that's because the Republican Party in Massachusetts is so weak.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the only competition you can get against a incumbent congressman in Massachusetts is a Democratic primary. But even candidates cannot gather enough strength to challenge any of the Democrats who are currently holding office. This is a one-party state. This is like communist China. There's only one party. And it's been like that for some time, and it hasn't changed. And even when we get a governor who's a Republican, he's half a Democrat, like Charlie Baker was. so
Well,
how do you change that?
Well, Rich Lowry, he has a great column in the New York Post today, talking just about that. The headline of the column is Trump's all-out assault on woke is fueling the left's cultural dismay, their anger and stuff. And he makes a good point. He says, for years, liberals and liberal Democrats, they use society to bring cultural change. They infiltrated HR departments, schools, the theater, the arts. They did that. He says, and that's the way they got into all these things. Figure they can turn people's minds to their views internally through society. But they says now they're so upset because Trump is using federal power, you know, to make these transformative changes. So he's in the difference is Trump is doing it in the open. He's telling you right where it is.
Oh,
Where
sure.
these little infiltrations on the other side, it's almost like an internal campaign that society through society where Trump, and you got to admire the guy. I mean, he's telling you right. You either you go along or you don't like it, but because even years ago, you'd go to different things, and you'd see whether it was a play, a theater, a movie. Things started to change. Some good, some not so good. And so, where did that come from? Subtle things, and then it takes over and overwhelms, and then you're right immersed in it, and you never even had a say. You never even had a say. It was just this is it, commercials and everything else. At least Trump is saying right out, hey, this is what it's going to be. There's only two genders in America. That's it. Let's do it.
All right. I have to point out, despite all due respect to Rich Lowry, here's the headline in my column. All right. Democrats lack common sense on transgender roots. That about says it. I don't know where it goes from here, but I don't see any. Democrats have to show me something besides protesting, demonstrating in front of buildings. They're angry, they're upset, but they have no program. And unless they come up with something, they're going to run out of indignation. Trump has only been president for a couple of weeks. What are they going to do at the end of the year? What are they going to do next year? How much indignation, anger do you have inside of you before you empty everything out? They've gone crazy so far. It's remarkable. It's like they're Antifa or BLM rioting in the streets, demanding change. It's incredible.
You think Elizabeth Warren needs anger management classes?
She needs help. I know that. She needs help. She is frightening. I tell her. She's.
I know we're getting close to the end here, but I just have to talk about a couple of things quickly. I saw that Defense Secretary Peter Hegseth yesterday renamed Fort Liberty back to Fort Bragg. And before anybody could attack him, which some did, because the original fort was named after General Bragg. He was a Confederate general, and everybody, why they changed the name was because the military went woke, and people were complaining on the left that General Bragg was a Confederate soldier and he owned slaves and this and that. So when people started to raise that point, why are you going backwards and naming the Fort Liberty back to Fort Bragg? He says, well, it's not for General Bragg, the Confederate general. It's for a war hero from World War II, Roland L. Bragg, who won a Purple Heart and everything, bravery and stuff. So there are different ways, I think, to accomplish what you want. And he said from the beginning, I mean, this is a military base. Even in his book, he talks about Fort Bragg being changed to Fort Liberty. And even though there's nothing wrong with the name Fort Liberty, there was a lot of resentment. There was a lot of resentment, especially down south. And maybe because who are you just to come in and change these names? And the guy might have been a bum, Bragg and stuff, but I don't know. Would people like to change the name of Lowell because they found out that a longtime manufacturing owner of the founding of Lowell owned slaves and stuff? I don't know. So good for him.
Well, you're down by the Gulf of Mexico, aren't you? Or the Gulf of America now, right?
Yeah. So, and then one other thing that caught my eye. I mean, there's a lot of you've been following this story, you've been writing about it. The USAID organization that Trump is basically right now put everything on hold, and the stories coming out daily about this organization. Yeah, they did some good, maybe a lot of good, but once again, the labyrinth. Who's making these decisions, giving money to Al Qaeda, to Guatemala for transgender programs?
To the Taliban.
It has nothing to do with helping starving people or giving them medical aid.
I like the way the Democrats are attacking Elon Musk for being an unelected person making all these decisions. When all the bureaucrats giving out all the money from USAID and everything else, we're all unelected bureaucrats. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Talk about hypocrisy.
But it's like, there's going to be some waste in an organization. Tell that to a CEO, who's paying salaries for employees, benefits, and under all kinds of government restrictions. I mean, government should run the same way. No, you identify $1 or $100 million that's wasted and shouldn't be going to the, to enemies of the U.S. You eliminate it. I mean, it is absolutely crazy how some of these government agencies have run these operations, and you got to give Trump and Elon Musk and his people credit, and yet the Democrats just can't say, well, let's see how it goes.
Donald
Let's see
Trump
what they
Donald,
do.
Donald Trump has risen the spirit of the country since he's been president. Look at the military. Enlistment is up in every branch of the military. Kids are joining the Marine Corps, the U.S. Army, the Navy, the Coast Guard in record numbers now because of Donald Trump. It's just amazing. And you must have seen the reception he got at the Super Bowl the other night.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it was fantastic. And you know who was absent from that Super Bowl crowd? Kamala Harris. Where was she? She was out in California, unfortunately. What would have happened had she turned up at the Super Bowl, do you think? Would she get the Taylor Swift reception or what?
yeah. You think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to go to the White House?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think so. It'll be
Yeah, it
another.
was a different time
It's a different time and a different feeling in the country.
before when Trump rescinded the order after. I mean, that had that controversy all over Colin Kaepernick and stuff at the time when some Eagles refused to go to the White House because Trump wanted them to stand up during the national anthem and they wanted to take a knee. He says, "No, we're not going to have that at the White House." So, but hey, well, any closing thoughts from you, Peter?
Yeah. What are we going to do about the Patriots?
The Patriots?
Yeah. We got to get
Yeah.
back into the Super Bowl, don't we?
All I can say is I think they'll be better next year than they were this year. They'll win a few more games. Hey, but you know what? They can make a giant leap with a new coach and new staff. We'll see.
All
I'm
right.
concerned more about the level of snow when I return to Massachusetts in March.
Well,
Uh,
we got plenty. We got plenty. We'll have more.
hey, one thing I do have to close with,
What?
okay, is the dumbest politician of the week. Okay, I don't know if that's a new segment that I want to have, but I tell you, and it's a Republican. I read the story about the sentencing of a former state senator Dean Tran of Fitchburg, and I tell you, from his defense, where he said he asked the judge not to send him to jail because he's the sole provider for his family. And you're looking at all the charges. I mean, he didn't pay his taxes. He didn't report his income. Evidently, he owned income property, rental properties, never reported the money. He took unemployment benefits, even though he was getting paid a consultant salary. I tell you, you can tolerate some things and say he says he's a victim of the legal system, and including he blamed the Democrats. But I tell you, dumbest politician of the week, Dean Tran, and it's unfortunate that he has to go to jail. Well, maybe not so, but he's going to serve 15 months. And he
Well,
deserves it.
at least he's not going to serve that time in a Healy hotel,
Yeah.
which is really dangerous.
Well, until our next show, I hope everybody has a great Valentine's Day, Peter. And I know that you will because you're going to go to the State House, bring that candy all in for your special for your special people out there down at the State House.
This is for the governor.
All right. This is Boston Bros signing off until our next show. Have a great week.